right, welcome back to Real Talk. Today we got something special. I'm introducing you to someone that, quite frankly, I think a number of you already know. The more people that I touch base with, they're like, oh yeah, I totally know who Brooke Silva is, okay? She was new to me. I just learned about her a couple months ago. But I have been creeping on her like nobody's business because I want to see everything that she's doing. I want to see what she's posting. I want to see what videos she's making. I want to see what classes she's teaching. She has very quickly become one of my favorite educators within our industry. And it's not about her knowledge per se. She's crazy knowledgeable in a lot of different areas, but it's her approach to learning and it's her approach to teaching that is so engaging to me and so intriguing. So I reached out to her and I said, how would you feel about being interviewed? And how would you feel about you choose the topic? What would set your soul on fire? What would you like to talk about? And she said, learning. And as we get into this interview, you're going to see why she's so passionate about that. She is going to mention that she was coded at an early age with a learning disability, and that has fully informed the educator and the human being that she is today. Now, I have notes after notes after notes after notes. I've got stuff laying all over the place from our interview, but let me just tell you, if you're familiar with Cultivate Wins and our core concepts and principles, it's almost as if her and I staged half this conversation because she brings them up all the time. Things such as self-awareness. It's important to know yourself. And you guys know me. I say it all the time. Self-awareness is my freaking superpower. So she dived into that. She used the word earned. Oh my gosh, I use that all the time because I mean it. You have to earn the right, so on and so forth. Everything that I say is not about doing, it's about earning the right. Put in the work, do the work, bring real value, or frickin' go home. So we talk about all of those types of things, but we really talk about her passion and her approach to learning and educating. And I am just completely blessed to have had this time with her. And I'm going to start out asking her if it's okay if I share 3 things about her. And she's like, yeah, go for it. So here we go. Brooke, let's do this. All right, Brooke, we're going to get started here. And I have something, if you don't mind, that I would like to start with.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Do it.
So I wanted to point out to you, because I've been creeping on you for a while, and I don't feel bad saying that. Okay, so I've been creeping on you. And here's what I mean by that is I look at your Facebook. I look at what you're doing in the command group. I look at what you're doing with your market center on your guys' YouTube channel, which is absolutely brilliant. What a wonderful, wonderful YouTube channel that you guys have put together, and the resources there and what you make available to people. Then I also look at your website and nerd out on all the books that you recommend on there and all that other kind of stuff. I nerd out on the stuff that you sent me. I'm totally bringing this stuff up later too. But here's the thing is, I want to tell you is, I was thinking this week, I'm like, what are the 3 things, if I could summarize 3 things about your teaching style? Okay, because we're going to be talking about learning today, about your teaching style. The 3 things that constantly, I can come up with better lists than this, but this is what constantly comes to mind. Okay, first one, your spirit, just your presence. It's ridiculously both inviting and contagious. And I can't stop thinking that. I mean, you could be teaching something. I got in this business back in '97. You could be teaching something that you're supposed to learn the first 2 weeks. So in theory, there are things I'm already supposed to know. The fact that you are doing them, I don't even turn off the video. You are so, you absolutely just, you are so engaging, and it's just inviting and contagious. So I wanted to say that to you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, that's the first thing that I can't get out of my head.
My filter doesn't show it, but I'm blushing.
I love it. And you have no idea what I was going to say or anything like that, but I'm just telling you, that is what is consistent for me in everything that I see on you. Okay. The second one, fun. There's a spirit of joy. When you teach, part of your teaching style, you just have a way to make people that aren't even sure that they wanted to go to the class, they leave and they knew that they had a good time. And I love that. And I don't know, because we haven't talked about this, but I do want to hear more about your theory on learning, teaching, all that kind of stuff. But that part comes out constantly. And the third one is, and you can't really deny this one, but in a lot of your teaching, somehow, one way or another, you bring food into just about everything.
I'm a food-driven animal. I will say I am motivated by food. I love food, but yes, food is, I
All
think,
right, those are the three things I wanted to point out. Those three things I notice on a regular basis, but food comes up quite a bit.
food is relatable. And food
Okay.
is not scary. Food
All
is
right.
not real estate. Food is approachable. So I love using food examples.
Well, you definitely fit that in there in spades. So as I mentioned in the intro, is I had just point blank asked you, what stirs your soul? What do you want to talk about? And I wanted you to be able to talk about something you're passionate about. And you said learning. Come
Very much
on.
so.
Tell me, why was that the answer? And I'm excited to hear, because I don't know what you're going to share with us today, but I've certainly been on the other end of watching you teach. So what informs that? So
So
talk to me why.
so I gotta tell you, I was hired to teach technology and I
Mhm.
failed. I failed so miserably. 6 months into it, I looked at the team leader and I said, what is wrong with me? Like, people
Mhm.
like me, they won't come to my classes.
Yeah.
And we sat down and we looked at a whole bunch of things, but at the end of the day, I wasn't building relationships and I was
Yeah.
teaching something that was scary. Technology is a scary word, especially when people don't break it down to just their iPhones or putting on the TV. Everything we touch in the modern world is technology, from your microwave to your Ring doorbell to how we get groceries, even with a chip. We pay for our groceries with a chip. That's technology. And so I went back to the basics, and there may be video of me running around in unicorn costumes and as a big blow up T Rex, because I was trying to prove the point where communication has always evolved through technology means.
Mhm.
So I don't want our agents to go extinct because they're so scared of changes in
Yeah.
our world
Yeah.
or emerging technologies. So, how can I show you how to get back to the basics of communication
Yep.
and being a better agent? And then we have tools to do it. It doesn't matter what the widget is in front of us,
Yep.
right? It's about the systems, the models, and making sure we're doing the appropriate things. And
Yep.
then we just have some really cool tools to do it with. Then my world changed.
And
And
and I
go
think
ahead.
I'm learning a little bit more about you, because the fact is when you think about it, is when you said you don't want, and you just use the word extinct, and you talked about running around in a dinosaur outfit. So you believe unicorns actually existed at one point and they've become extinct.
I am one. Like, I am a unicorn. I am a
Amen, you
unicorn.
are. Amen, you are. I love it.
And I am a T-Rex because I do have really short arms. Like,
Yeah,
so it's not a fake thing.
nice.
But this all comes back to, so I was born in the 80s and went to school in the 80s,
Hmm.
and I was coded with a learning disability. Early 80s, out came Ritalin, out came drugs, out came extreme therapies. I
Hmm.
was put into situations with children who were nonverbal, who were no movement, who um could not could learn, but there was no back and forth, right? So
Yep.
from an early age, the mindset I was taught was, you can't learn.
Hmm.
When shame on them, the mindset should have been, how does she learn? Because
Yeah.
I'm not
Yeah.
unable to learn. It was that the teachers did not know how to teach
Yeah.
me specifically.
Hmm.
And it took till almost high school. I failed my way through grade school, right? Because back then they did not hold you back. You just kept getting pushed along if you were good enough.
Yep.
She's cute, she's spunky, she's bubbly, she'll make it, right?
Yep. Yep.
Excuse after excuse.
She's not causing problems. She's
Exactly. Until I was causing problems my freshman year because I got sick of it. I
yeah.
got mouthy and I just got fed up. So I was put back then, when you went to a tech high school, they were like,
Yeah.
ooh, you go
Yeah.
to a tech high school. And now, like, my children had to fight to get into the local tech high schools and apply
Yep.
and have amazing grades. So I was put in a tech high school because I was a high rated dropout.
Okay.
And I met someone who unlocked my love of learning. And I got to thank her a few years ago. She's actually a realtor at KW where I worked. And I was like,
Really.
hold on, I know that name. And I got to tell my story in front of the whole market center and thank her because she said, you're not unable to learn. You are super smart about what you're passionate about, but
Yep.
nobody's ever taken the time to learn how you learn. So let's sit down and read these
Mhm.
assessments they make us do on you.
How
See
old
what
were
you're
you
good
when
at.
that happened?
I was 15.
15. Okay.
Yep. 15. And this woman unlocked my world. So we learned that I have a number block. So great, Excel and Access were out. So she said, do you know the mechanics of getting this problem to work? I said, absolutely. I just can't do it on paper. She said, show me the equation in Excel. Right there it is. Got the right answer. I can show you the steps to plug it in. I just can't see it in here. I couldn't do things like times tests or, when they crank the thing and they say, do as many problems as you can in under a minute, I'd be like,
Yeah.
deer in headlight. So when we changed how I learned, I went from being, D's and F's to A's and B's and being part of a marketing program where she's like, I'm going to put you on the phone. You're going to ask for donations for our DECA program because I got into DECA and marketing. And she said, I want you to call the phone book and ask for donations. Here's your script. I didn't know it was a script back in the day, right? So all I did was, hi, it's Brooke. And, I did my little dog and pony show and I got a ton of money, like fundraised so much money. None of us had to pay for our trips for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
And then my world just slowly opened more and more and more.
It started with one person making an observation and a connection.
Yep. She just believed in me.
Yeah.
Just believe. And and it's not to say that my parents didn't, because they did. They saw it and they were like, we don't see what the schools see. We don't see what the counselors at the school see. We see a child who loves to interact with, my dad had a business. I was in the technology he was using everywhere. The school just couldn't see me as an individual back then.
Yeah.
So it took a long time to figure out that I could learn. And then everything I did after that, no matter what career I've had, and I've had a few since coming over to KW, I am passionate about, it doesn't matter who's sitting in front of me, whether I have 3 people, 1 person, or 300. We all deserve to learn, and it may not be the way I'm saying it right now. So that's why you see me giving out so many mediums. Maybe you need to replay it and pause. Maybe you need a worksheet with QR codes that takes you on a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
You need something more. Maybe you need a one-on-one. I got you. But it's okay to learn different, but it's not okay to not allow our agents or the people we service in our industry to learn.
And how amazing. I can cry at the drop of a hat. So just so you know, I won't, not today, but here's the deal is I'm getting emotional because of this. Is something that's important to me in everything that we do at Cultivate Wins is I want to teach core principles that are just as likely to make me a better husband as they are to make me a better business person. There are a few industry specific things that we have to learn. But if I can learn one thing that's going to benefit me as a husband or as a father, but will that simultaneously benefit me in my business, I just want to be one consistent person. Who I am sometimes is who I am all the time.
Yep.
And the topics that we're talking about here, you're going to have a parent that's going to walk away. I mean, they came here for a real estate video.
Right.
And I love what my mom said. She said, we talk about how hard it is for kids, and it's harder for them than it's ever been and blah, 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 blah. And she says, if it's harder for kids, it's harder for parents too. If it's harder to be a kid than it's ever been, it's harder to be a parent than it's ever been. And I think back I grew up in the 70s and then the 80s, but in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of things we just didn't talk about. And because we didn't talk about them, it's not that our parents didn't love us. It's not that they didn't care. They didn't know what to do. Okay. Well, now kids are dealing with new things that our parents and our children didn't deal with in the 70s and 80s. It's still a new thing and parents still don't know how to deal with it. And I love what you broke it down to. It was one person. It's amazing what one person can do in someone's life. And it may be you are doing that for your children just as well as you are doing that for your coworker.
True.
And you may not be that person. Get them into coaching, get them around good people. It was my parents getting me around the right coach in high school that changed my life. And it just so happened when my kids got old enough, we moved back into town and he happened to change my children's life. And he has that same impact. So it's just, I want to just share that what you're sharing here, I find much, much bigger than just Keller Williams, than real estate, than business, These are absolutely, this video will affect someone in their household. I love that.
I hope so.
I
Somebody
love
said
that.
something a long time ago, and they said, you need to stop asking why. Why did you do that? Why
Mm,
did you poke your sister in the eyeball? Why did you put your finger in the outlet? Why did you do this? Why would you say that? Because why questions, nobody can answer why they do them. My children, I never ask them why. How do you think that made your brother feel when you bashed him off the back of the head with your toy? How do you think it made me feel when you threw your plate in the garbage and not even touch it?
yeah.
Right? So when you stop asking why, we have to know why we do things. So that let me cover that, right? We have to know
Yep.
what drives us. But it's the how. How did you do this? Or what happens if? So I think it's digging into questions in our lives differently. If we
Yep.
could remove why questions from the world, I think we'd all be better because
Mm,
you're setting yourself up for failure. Because I'm not a psychoanalyst, I'm not a psychologist. I
yep.
cannot tell you why my human brain did that. It felt good at the time. I
Yeah.
wanted to.
Yeah.
So when you start shifting those things into your whatever you're doing into your career, whether you're managing, whether you're helping clients, whether you work at Starbucks or Walmart, stop
Hmm.
asking why people do things and start looking to ask the questions differently. Did the same thing with tech when we made changes in our world. People said to me, Brooke, why is it changing? And I would say, how can these changes impact your business for the positive?
Yeah.
How can this technology get you in front of your database more? How
Hmm.
can we do this? What advantages does this have? It's changing the questions,
Yep.
changing the mindset.
Yeah. You had also, in your reply to me when I asked, what do you want to talk about? I do want to pull another line out there. And I think now is kind of an appropriate time to bring it up. And although you may be bringing it up more later, is you had said, I think it's important to know yourself.
Mm.
Now, at Cultivate Wins, I've probably said this enough times that people are ready to turn off because they know what's coming. They're ready to just turn the video off. It's
They're
like, oh,
triggered.
Breckheimer. Okay. And it is that I will say it till the day I die. Self-awareness is my freaking superpower. Self-awareness is my superpower. Can I ask, as you were going through and you said you were coded with a learning disability and everything, and then there was this one person, when did your self-awareness start becoming a superpower to you? Was it before you met that one individual and you started seeing, or was it not till later and that person opened that? Or where did self-awareness start to become almost a power for you?
I think maybe not to the last 5 years.
Mm,
And
okay.
that is right? So that many
Amazing.
people think that. And I'll tell you, it got being with the right leaders in the room. It was in the right career before I came to my role
Mm-hmm.
at Keller Williams. I had two leaders in my world who were very different personalities.
Yeah.
And they both raised me into a leadership position and got me into classes like
Yeah.
disc classes
Yep.
or love languages in the workplace
Mm-hmm.
or just how to speak to employees or have better relationships. So no, people focus on skills like
Mm-hmm.
skills, push the button, make the widget.
Yeah.
Okay. Not a lot of these workplaces, as where I was coming from, were building me as leader. They were building me as this is the best way to get this to the client, end of story.
Yeah.
Or this is how you sell XYZ, end
Mm-hmm.
of story. And my personality, not good with that. I need to know more. I need to know. I get nerdy about things,
Yep. Yep.
right? What I'm passionate about it. So I need to know more. So what we did in IT was we taught the products. In order to sell the products, you went in and you made sure the people who were using them and you knew exactly how to push every button
Yep.
and it saw the value of the product. So you sold more product.
Yeah.
So I became this relationship monster in
Mm.
our world. I just wanted to build relationships. It wasn't about the sales, it was how do I get in front of them? How can I make their lives easier? How can I use technology with them to make their student lives easier? Because I was in the private education sector for technology. And those people, those directors of students and program directors, they're all still in my world. I
Yeah.
took all those people from that world and transferred them to this world. And that's because of relationships, not because they sold the best servers, not because I found the best price on Chromebooks, but because I built trust over the years with them. And I still value those relationships to this day.
You are so screaming my love language. And I'm just gonna, you already said it in just a couple minutes, but you said it earlier too, is it relationships keeps coming up. Not building relationships in your teaching. That's why it's not working sometimes, is because we are not building relationships in our teaching. Number 2, relationship monster. Oh my gosh, I want that as a bumper sticker. I wish it wasn't so long. I'd put it on my license plate.
Well, if you make it like New England style and you say monster, like it's better. So let me hold on. I'm going to put a big registered symbol on that one for me.
I love that. Relationship monster. That's awesome. That's got to be a hashtag or a license plate somewhere. And you've used the phrase, you just used it, but I've heard it a couple times, so I wanted to point it out, is you would say something, say, and then you would say because, and you'd say because relationships, because of the relationship.
Mhm.
You're constantly giving little examples and ending it with it because relationships. You're
They
so speaking my
matter.
love language.
They matter. Like, because at the end of the day, your computer fails sometimes.
Mhm.
After 3, 5 years, guess what? There's garbage. Your iPhones have to be replaced.
Yep.
But I want you to remember our interaction and how you felt
Yes.
when you left me, because I never want anybody who leaves my world to feel like they weren't allowed to learn, or
Yeah.
that they didn't have the base to learn, right?
No.
And there's no such thing. There are stupid questions. Like people say that, I say, no, they're not stupid questions. They're clarifying, because
Yeah.
not everybody teaches the same way. And I also may not be the right voice. And I completely understand that. Somebody may learn much better from you. I am high energy.
Yeah.
I bring a lot of weirdness to the table with my food analogies, but I don't ever want anybody to ever say, I did not get one thing out of that class.
Yeah.
Not one thing.
So when you wanted to come and talk about learning, okay, there's been a little interaction between us even right before this call, is you've had a couple phrases that really kind of stick out to me. So I'm just going to ask you to go a little deeper on those. The word nerd, okay? So I've heard you use the word nerd. I know it's also part of your Brooke the Nerd logo, all this kind of stuff, all of this. I want to read this card for those that haven't seen her business card. It's like a baseball card on the back.
It's
So let
my
me,
Pokemon card. It's
yeah.
my Brookemon
Okay.
card. You
All
gotta catch
right.
them all. It's a series 1. That's a special edition.
So I'm going to read what your skill sets are. Nerdy skills, 10 out of 10. Leverage partner, 10 out of 10. Energy level, 10 out of 10. Optimism level, 10 out of 10. Problem solving, 10 out of 10. That's Brooke. That's Brooke's resume right there. If anybody's looking for it, if anybody wants her contact information, we'll put it down below, but it's right there. Now, what I want people to see is the nerd. Okay. When we talk about www.brooke with an E, thenerd.com. So I think some people would claim that they are not a nerd, that they don't have nerd status. And I would tend to disagree with them. And based on what I heard a little bit of your definition, first of all, I loved your reply to me in one of the messages. You actually, and I wrote it down, is you had specifically said, I have earned nerd status. Okay. But you said something before the call. You define what you think a nerd really is.
It's your passion.
Okay, talk to me
It has
about that.
nothing to do with tech skills, right? People think the nerd, and usually I do wear glasses. It's summertime. It's still hot here. I'm sick of wearing my glasses all day, right? I usually wear glasses, so that's the logo. But a nerd is someone who is passionate about something very specific and has to gain all the knowledge and all the things. So I'm not just a relationship nerd. I'm a plant nerd. I'm a food nerd, right? Like I have all these things. I actually crochet. It's the weirdest thing. It's my zen, right?
You
like,
called me a cow nerd when we
you
started.
are a cow nerd. I mean, if anybody follows you on Facebook, they know how much you love the bovine community.
Yep.
And it's not only just having the passion, it's sharing the passion about
Thank you.
what you love. So everybody is a nerd. If you've ever been in a room and you're like, that person never stops talking about cows, they're a cow nerd, or certain books, or food, right? Like there are people who just love food and everything around it, or
Yeah.
knitting or crocheting or whatever they're passionate about. Maybe it's making clay sculptures. I don't know. Whatever is your thing,
Yep.
you're a nerd about.
Okay, so here's what I love about that is someone may have a beautiful thing with relationships or a beautiful thing with, could be real estate, but let's just say in their real estate, relationships is a big part of it. Is I almost think that they get more from themselves through self-awareness, being self-aware that you are a relationship nerd and claim it that way. When you talk about it that way, it becomes fun and it becomes something you want to be more nerdy about, and start claiming it for other people. When you see something about them that you love,
Yep.
you
And it's
absolutely love. Not only do I love you, not only do I love this about you, but you are an absolute relationship nerd. And I love that about you. Okay. So it's not even just your self-awareness, but it's being a self-aware of what other people may not see about themselves. Help other people be self-aware. You could help them leave that day actually feeling amazing about themselves. They just thought
right.
relationships was just, they don't even think about it, quite frankly. And you
No.
pulled it out of them. There's something that someone at 15 years old made you aware of.
Yeah.
And we have that power with other people. And I love that you said that, because I am those that know me know I'm a nerd on 5 words. There's no ifs and buts about it. I will use them every chance I get. Is I want to talk about peace, creating peace, contentment, joy, gratitude, and compassion. Those are the 5 things. If I can't figure out a way to achieve those for myself and everybody I interact with, you're not setting my soul on fire. You're not giving me an opportunity to do what I am passionate about. And so it's always, what do I have to do to create peace and contentment for both me and everyone I interact with? How do we create joy, which most of the time I don't think it's creating or adding more joy. It's about dealing with stealing our joy before we worry about adding. And then I want to talk about gratitude and compassion all the time. And I am a hardcore nerd about all 5 of those. And I love that you talk about, let's define nerd as, what are you crazy passionate about?
Yeah. What lights your soul on fire? Are you a
I
yoga
love that.
nerd? Do you like to go running? Everybody
I love it.
is passionate about something, whether they hide it or they're
Mhm.
verbose about it.
Mhm.
It's there. That's how you find your brand.
Mm.
That's how you connect with your
Mm.
community.
Yeah, beautiful brand.
I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I know that, and that's okay. But I've got the relationships to help connect you with those who could.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the other thing with the self-awareness is knowing that I'm not going to train everyone. I'm not going to get
Mhm.
through to everyone,
Yep.
that I may not be that right person.
Yeah.
And I will say during a meeting, listen, we've met 3 times. It's over the same thing. So I think it's time to get somebody
Mhm.
else in front of you,
Yep.
because I'm not working and that's okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And you know what? Sometimes it is working, but it only works for a season. So I'm going to use myself as an example. I usually try to keep all my coaching clients at 15 coaching clients at any given time, because I know my own limits and time and energy and spirit and everything else like that. And there were 3 of them last month that I was the right coach for a season. And that's okay too. Sometimes you're not the right teacher for them right now. Sometimes you are, but it's for a season. And some of those I had coached for a year and a half. And I was the one that suggested, I said, you know what? I think you could use some fresh blood.
Fresh blood is a good thing.
That's
Fresh
okay.
voices.
That's,
Yeah.
yeah, just another approach, another opinion, and I can either refer it, or if you've got some people you're excited to go interview, I would say right now, I'm in full support of you considering that.
Right. Because it's not like I go away. It
No,
doesn't, I don't poof gone, delete it out of your phone the second
no.
you say, well, this isn't working for me, Brooke. This is not working for me, David. You know?
And
And
2 of
that's
my coaching clients are back this month that I haven't coached for probably 6 to 8 months. And we coached for at least a year prior to that.
yeah.
And so I also think there's a part of our mental health that's affected if we don't take some of these types of things into consideration, because we're taking things on a personal level
Yeah.
that, quite frankly, are bringing no value to either side of it.
No, and it's okay to refer those people out. You know, when I'm in tough
100%.
situations, I bring in my, like, I
100%.
am surrounded by a regional team in New
Yep.
England who
Yep.
is stellar. If I don't know where to go, I have the growth opportunities and the support to say, hey, I don't know how to deal with this situation. This was my initial thought and it's not sitting well with me and I'm stuck.
Mm.
And that's our team where they'll say, okay, have you tried this? If they say, you know, like we'll script it, we'll practice it with each other. And
Yep.
they will never let me feel, they never let me feel less than competent or, like I said, supported. It's like the only term I know what to do because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know whether I feel like I won or not on that call, that I still did what I'm here to do, and that the other person may not be open to what I'm saying yet. So
Let me ask you, when you wanted to talk about learning, okay? I've been very selfish on this call, and I'm willing to admit
that's
that.
okay.
There's certain things about you I'm just so passionate about, and I want to make
That's
sure
okay.
that we talk about. But what else did you want to bring up about learning, and maybe your teaching style, or what you have learned that has helped you, quite frankly, to help other people learn? I mean, what's been successful for you, or what else did you want to talk about?
Sure. I think taking the tools and using them and learning them, people are so scared to be defined by a test.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, if you have access to things like disc assessment or love
Yeah.
languages or
Yeah.
KPA at Keller Williams,
Mm-hmm.
take it. Don't take
Mm-hmm.
the free version that you can find where you take 4 questions. If you want to dig deep into who you are, to learn more about maybe I don't like these things about myself, or how do I highlight the things that I'm so good at, or
Yeah.
grow and learn in other areas, or leverage the things I'm not good at.
Yep.
Like me, I'm not good at organizing my desk. I leverage my husband for that, right? Certain things. I'm not good at remembering to eat every day. I have Hub Grub who brings me food. There's certain
Yeah.
things I just don't remember. If you took off the little nagging mean monkey that lives in your head that says this is going to define me and I'm scared of what those definitions are,
Yep.
stop it. That's
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's your bad mindset. You need to see yourself as we're not static, right? We're dynamic. We are constantly consuming information and growing with it, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I look at those tests not as a like, oh my God, this is going to define me. People are going to go, oh, she's a D or an S or not. You're like, right? I'm going to say, okay, this proves that, okay, I know what I'm good at. I want to get better at this. What
Yep.
are the right tools, books,
Yep.
people to get me to those things, knowing that we've talked about it on the disc. I am not a compliant person all the time.
Yeah.
So what do I need to do to grow to be not necessarily compliant, but more open to
Yeah.
hearing those things before rejecting ideas? I fully believe you should do those and have them be part of your evaluations with your coaches, your supervisors, your
Yeah.
team leaders, your rainmakers, whoever you work with. And then one step further than that, share it with the people who support you in your home, because
Yeah.
when that
Hmm.
communication happens, your
Interesting.
relationships are going to go through the roof.
Yeah.
Um, like if my husband didn't understand how this brain worked, we would be in a very different place. But I can say to him, I'm having a bad day because I feel out of control because of XYZ, right? And then he'll help me get back on track. Or he is, you know, we've got the relationship where he can say, I'm having a bad day because of XYZ, or I'm having a great day because of this. So we can share wins, we can share opportunities to get better with one another. He knows what my goals are. He
Yeah.
knows where my deficits and my high notes are. So we work together as a team to make sure both are supported in our family and that our children are supported and both careers are supported. Did not take overnight. Took a lot of grumbling, I'll call it, back and forth, miscommunications at first, but we got there.
Okay. So a couple of phrases that I just want to pull out and just pull a few things out that you had said. Number one, I really liked when you went in the direction also of you take the test and whatever the results are, you don't let them define you.
Mm-mm.
And without this next phrase, I'm putting this in your mouth, but this is the direction I was hearing, is you don't let it define you, but it can definitely help you to make better choices. It's not defining you, but I have chosen that, guess what? I've hired wise wizards to do my bookkeeping.
Yes.
I've outsourced that. Okay.
Yeah.
I know me well enough. And again, we're getting back to self-awareness again. It's not that the test is going ahead and it's there to define me and make me feel bad about myself. It's helping me to be self-aware about myself so I can make other choices. Do I want to, is it worth it for me right now to really dive in and grow in that area? Or is there an area of strength that I actually am really passionate about? I want to keep working on that. And right now, if I'm being at least honest with myself, I'm probably could get better at bookkeeping and all that other kind of stuff and doing the P&L and everything. I don't want to. I don't care. But
right?
I do love that I can give it to someone that gives me reports that in 30, and that's always my standard is if you can't find what you're looking for in 30 seconds or less in your system sucks.
Yep.
I'm pretty harsh about that. It is everything's a 30-second rule. It's 30 seconds or less. Otherwise, your system could be at another level. And so I know I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to do it with passion. Do I know I'm weak in it? Sure. I'm not letting that define me. I'm letting it help me to make a better choice.
Let it be known, David sucks at accounting. We should not trust him with accounting. Right? Like, could you imagine? Could you imagine if we introduced ourselves by our own mindset problems that we have?
Ridiculous.
Hi, my name is Brooke. I'm super high energy. I'm highly disorganized at home, and sometimes we eat at 8:00 at night. Nice to meet you.
You're not going to want to spend any time with me. Now let's go to dinner.
But let's go out to eat, right?
Yeah.
But
so
could you imagine if we just walked in a room and all those things that sat in our heads about ourselves, that's how we introduced ourselves? You'd be like, all right, so.
I love it. Don't let it define you, but it can help us make wiser choices. And sometimes the wise choice is I do want to work on that little area. And there are some areas that I'm not as strong as I'd like to be. And I have chosen, I'm definitely hardcore diving deep into those and trying to grow in those. There's a couple of areas I'm like, you know what? I like the word outsource. It even sounds good.
It's leverage. It's everybody's bingo spot on the card, right? Leverage is the magic word. And it's so true. Like if
I'm going to let the other nerd in that area take that. Let them run with it. Let them have a blast with it. And you know what? I'm going to be honest.
That's their passion.
And what I love is their passion is I actually don't see it as a transaction. I see it as relationships.
Yep.
Again, it's back to relationships. And I have real relationships with those people. And I love how geeky they are about it. And 2 weeks ago, I said, hey, do you mind? I just want to get on a call and just do 5-10 minutes and just talk about the P&L and everything else like that. Like, yeah.
Wow, that's just what I wanted to do. But if you're
excited, great, let's do it.
I'm excited about it.
So anyway,
right? It's that enthusiasm of what they do. Just like you and I are so, but you and I know what we're good at. We love sharing those things. So it's the enthusiasm and the joy in what we do.
Yep.
And it's plug and play for what we do in our world, right?
Yeah.
Put a widget in front of me and I will make you excited about it because I got excited about it and I want to teach you everything there is from the ground up. And I think that's, as adult learners, that's where so many people go wrong. They assume we have base knowledge about something.
Okay.
And then we jump into what they consider a higher level thing.
Yeah.
So I don't know anybody in our world who went to school to be a realtor and plopped in and was successful day one.
Yeah.
And what's so hard sometimes for those who are been in the stew for a while and, we're recruiting and we're teaching and we're productivity coaching or we're trying to get our team to do things is that we often forget what it's like to be day one. Yeah. And I call them little minions, right? They come in and their eyeballs are huge and they just started their own business or they quit their full-time job to do this and nobody's told them to open a new bank account and run everything through that.
Yep.
Nobody has showed them what it's like to have a business card or a proper handshake or what does a business conversation sound like? How do you introduce yourself and what you do so that it sounds natural and that you are an expert in your field and what we do? We forget to go to the basics and review the basics. And oftentimes our classes are labeled so basic. So at one point I I stopped labeling my classes.
Hmm.
Because let me tell you, agents who have been doing this for a while, they know everything about contacts. I
Yeah.
mean, but I dip in and their database score, it's like a 35, but
Yeah.
they know
Yep.
everything about contacts.
Yep.
So let me tell you, I would never get someone who's been doing this 3 to 25 years in a contacts class, right?
Yeah.
Or CRM basics or how to find an address, right? Like I wasn't going to get people into a class because agents who have base knowledge don't want base knowledge.
So anybody who hasn't seen one of Brooke's class, and she talks about data bank,
Yep.
the fact is a lot of people call it database. And the fact is that every real estate class that's going to talk about database is going to use one line, and we all use the same line. Your database is your gold mine. And if we're being honest, most agents, your database is not your gold mine. Your database is garbage. It just is. That's just more of a reality. Okay. So there's the statement, which the statement is more of what the ideal situation is. The reality is usually, I don't care how long you've been in the business, your database is usually garbage. And I love the way that you even make them change the verbiage around it. Okay, let's talk about your data bank.
Yeah. What is it worth right now? And
Yeah.
in the beginning of that class, and I'd love for you to hop into
Yep.
anytime I do it, please, or if you need me to come do it for you. One of the things we ask, and I always say, listen, these are just numbers. This
Yep.
does not represent how wonderful of an agent you are, how much business you do, or how much your client base loves you.
You're not
What we
letting it define you.
We're not letting it define you. I say
Oh,
it.
I
I
love
say
it.
it multiple times during the class.
I love
Then
it.
I ask them, okay, so based on all these things I ask, okay, what percentage of addresses do you
Mhm.
have? Which boggles my mind. We put the people in the address, but that's okay. Okay.
Yep,
So
yep, yep.
so we look at all these percentages, right? So these are the phone numbers you call the people to put them in the little square box, right? Okay. These do not define you. If I were to buy your database today, I want you to write down a number it's worth. I don't know you. I'm coming in because you want to sell your database, you're retiring, you want to retain
Yep.
referral income. What is it worth today by
Yeah.
me clicking a button and logging in? And a lot of them say $50. And I say, well, I'll negotiate down to 5. And actually, you're going to pay me to take it. Like at that point. And then things like, top of mind is very important in relationships. How do you
Yep.
stay top
Yep.
of mind? And if you don't have a series of touches
Yeah.
logged,
Yeah.
so it doesn't matter. You could have everything about this person, but I have no idea the last time you contacted them, what you contacted them, how you contacted them, what you talked about. That is just as important to the data bank as is the information that gets you to that activity
Yep.
or how you got them to begin with. There's so many little pieces that lead up to data bank versus data base.
Yeah.
And the golden handoff is one of the books we talk about in the class so often. It's how do you build a business big, but then how can you prove your business is big? Because the numbers don't tell me anything if I'm coming in to buy. I don't care about your year over year or how many units sold. I'm looking at, okay, when this lands in my head, the stuff that's in your head does not translate to the keyboard. So how do you get that out now? Because I can guarantee you in 10 years of this business, you're not going to remember. So I hope our agents from day one, when they take our class, our newbies, our babies who have never done this, they take these principles and
Yeah.
they roll with it. Because it doesn't matter the software I teach them. It doesn't matter the tool we use.
Yep.
It's the principles behind why we do it.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about the end goal, right, the being able to retain 25% referral income and sell your book of business, that's huge.
Okay, so you just used 3 words that at Cultivate Wins we clearly separate, but they get lumped in one conversation all the time to people is core principles, systems, and tools. They are a world of difference from one to the next to the next.
They are.
But you are moving them through in your teaching style, which I love, is you are moving them through the core principles. You're moving them into the thought process of what would the system look like. And then the tool is just what we're using to implement the system that we've thought through that is based on our core principles.
How many people, if you started with the end in mind, you'd get there understanding through the process faster. Nobody says to our agents, you're going to want to do X, Y, and Z, one, to
Mm-hmm.
build a better business, but two, so that way, end game, what is your end game?
Yeah.
Right? And the other thing we do is we tend to over uh, word vomit things
Yep.
like we throw out all these acronyms and all these real estate terms. Well, I didn't come from the real estate world.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't a realtor. So I have no real estate experience to make the two merge together and make sense. So often the things I bring in have nothing to do with real estate.
Yep.
And oftentimes we don't even crack open our laptops, right? You're not coming to a tech class when you sit with me. You're coming to a business class. You're coming to a models and systems class where we're gonna dive so deep into the how and the why behind we do things that it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Clickety clackety, tip tip tip. Like it doesn't matter at that point because nobody's going to push the button if they don't understand why they're pushing the button.
Models and systems are not the tool, but we have to talk models and systems.
We do, and
I love it. I love it.
every human on the planet, every market center, every team leader, every agent, every rainmaker flips
Preach.
the models.
Preach.
It's okay, because then you've got people like coaches and other people who
I
see
love
it
it.
and bring you back, right? You get to be creative within the models.
Yep.
But reinventing the wheel is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah. So continually bringing us back to a bunch of the things that you're saying in different ways, but same concepts. When you talk about the models and systems, but you're showing them reality, say the test results, okay,
Yes.
without it feeling as though it's identifying them. Okay. Here's the deal is your database is garbage. Okay. All we're doing is we're just realizing that so we know where we need to go and we know where we're starting and those types of things. This isn't about you as a human being. We're not talking about you as a human being. We're talking about the test results is just how right now, what's the status of that in that specific area. Now, I mean, and you're graduate, but you're not identifying them with your business sucks. You've sucked at managing your business. None of that. This is not going to identify them, but you as a teacher do it in such a fun and light and joyful way that they feel ready to move through that process. So, and the reason why I wanted to kind of summarize some of these things, and I keep coming back to some of these same things, I do see those things as these are things that we can use in our own house.
Right. You expect the kids to load the dishwasher, but have you ever said why you don't put X, Y, or Z in the dishwasher or show them how to rinse it and put it in? Instead, you're like, oh, you loaded the dishwasher, horrible, and I'm just going to do it.
Yeah. So I adore what you do. I adore your energy. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Because I want to let kind of whatever you really see as a core principle of who you are, how that defines your teaching style. Is there anything else that you kind of really want to touch on?
Whatever you teach on, you have to live it daily.
Mm.
Okay.
Who you are sometimes is who you are all the time.
Exactly. So when I came to Keller Williams and I learned about the 36 touch system,
yeah.
And so my first 6 months in, I wasn't there, right? Because I was trying to learn the tech, vomit the tech, take the tech, adoption, right? All these things, tech, that when I started ingesting the models and systems, I took career visioning, business planning, and I started coming at it from an agent brain. My world changed. I started running my MCTT role by the models and systems. Okay. And I stopped vomiting technology all over people. And it's funny because in the classes, I will say that to people. I'll say, I give you permission. Here, this is me giving you permission. Put it on a paper, have your rainmaker, your team leader, somebody come to me. I'm telling you right now, stop vomiting real estate. You don't have permission. You don't have permission to talk real estate until you have a relationship and you've brought value. Because to me, you come out swinging from an open house with market rates and how many just sold in this. I don't care because I don't know you yet. Stop vomiting real estate.
I'm writing back over relationship monster.
Yeah, right.
I
You
love it.
can't,
I love it. I love it. And I've just put a hashtag in front of it too. Because I mean, geez
right?
Louise, I love it. I
You don't
absolutely love it.
deserve to, you
Yep.
haven't earned the right to ask for business
Thank
yet
you.
at certain stages. You've got to earn the right. People expect to go from 0 to 10 in a relationship, but they're
Yep.
not willing. And I always tell my kids it's like driving stick, right? Many people can't, I can. But you can't go from neutral to 6th gear and expect to go in a smooth way, right?
Yep.
You're probably going to stall.
Yep.
It's going to make some really loud, bad noises. You're going to burning smells. Like it is not a pretty process to go from neutral to 6 or first to 6th. We need to apply those same things in our business and our
Yeah.
personal lives. You've got to earn the right to talk business, and you got to bring value. So I started digging into my agents' lives, right? Because when you come to the office, everybody Facebook requests you. And in my past life, I wouldn't have accepted those. But making relationships with the people I was with every single day was so important to me, especially people I thought I may not have, had a relationship with, or they were outside of who I thought I wanted. Those
Yep.
people ended up being some of my best friends in life. So I started using those as tags or identifiers in my
Yes.
database.
Yep.
So instead of just getting an automated thing from me, sometimes you got a meme or a funny joke or a
Yep.
recipe from me in your little inbox folder in the market center, or you got a small gift. But it had nothing to do with tech in the beginning and everything to do with making sure you knew that I appreciated you and I knew who you were outside of your tech skill. Exactly. Right? Outside of your tech skill, outside of your real estate skills, whether you've been doing this a day or 100 years, you are a person to
Yep.
me and not a number on a report who doesn't have all their contacts in, who is not compliant and things, right? That I didn't care about that.
Yep.
So when I started running my MCTT world by the systems and the models, and I started making relationships, all of a sudden my classes went from the same 2 people to 5 to 25 to
Yeah.
55 to a packed house with people waiting outside. And my
Yep.
one-on-ones went through the roof. And people were excited to learn, and it didn't matter what I was teaching that day. They showed up
Yep.
because they knew they were going to pick up something. Or
Yep.
maybe they just needed energy that day, right? Brooke, I just need
Yes.
a little bit of your energy to
Yep.
get me through this, right? And I think that's what's so important is if you model the models,
Yep.
right? If it's monkey see, monkey do. So all of a sudden I was like, guys, what I do for you, do that for your clients. Think about how you feel being a client of mine, not just a friend, not just a work acquaintance. How does
Yep.
it feel to be in my ecosystem right
It's a
now?
great
Right?
question. It's a great question for
How
real.
does it feel? How do you feel to be in my world? Do you feel loved and
Yep.
appreciated? If I ask you for something, are you going to do it now? Where's my persuasion level with you? Where am I allowed to say it's time to flip the switch in your business and do this? When can we have hard conversations? I've earned the right to have those hard conversations with people. And that's when I started to get noticed by the region. And that's when the regional technology trainer position became open to me, which is
Yeah.
funny because it's the last thing I do, but it's my title. Like
Yep. Yep.
it's
Yep. Yep.
like it
Yep.
makes no sense to what I do, but I do train on technology at the end of the day. I just have a unique, different way about going about it.
Okay. So there's going to be some people that I'm sure watch this video that know you better than they know me, and vice versa. There'll probably be more people just because it's my channel that people know me and they don't know you, but it's going to look a little staged. And here's why. There's a couple things that you're saying. It's like they've talked before. That this is Breckheimer speak all over again. And here's the
I don't
two. And
know you.
exactly, we're just getting to know each other, and I adore you, and you know it too. Here's two phrases that you said that come out of my mouth on a regular basis. Is if I'm dealing with a sales class, and I had learned this from my father. He never once said this in his life, and when I say this, I'm sure he shakes his head. He's like, I never said that. No, you didn't say it. I watched you live this, and that was this. When I watched him, he was one of the greatest salesmen I've ever seen in my entire life. Okay, but by watching him, every class I went to was a slap in the face to me, because every class I went to on sales said, always be closing and always ask for the sale. Those are the two phrases. That's it. Okay. Always be closing, always ask for the sale. And I watched my father, and I got to see him in real time sell all the time. I never saw him ask. I never saw him close, and I never saw him ask for the sale. All I saw him, and this is what I teach and preach to the day I die, is worry less about asking for the sale and worry all about earning the right to ask for the sale. If the only thing you focus on is earning the right to ask for the sale, 9 times out of 10, I'm telling you right now, you probably don't need to ask for the sale. Okay. Focus on earning the right to ask for the sale. And the second thing is, as you mentioned, value right after that. And my phrase is always, now, by the way, this is not my phrase to all of you. Everybody knows me. This is my phrase to me because I'm super hard on myself. I always say it, anything I go into. Breckheimer, bring real value or frickin' go home. That's how.
What you did before you got on our call today? You're like, David, I can only see myself.
Anybody who knows me knows before I jumped on this call, Breckheimer, bring real value or frickin' go home. And that's how I say, because I don't swear, but I say frickin' to myself all the time. Breckheimer, bring real value or frickin' go home. And you're hitting all those points. So I hit a lot on self-awareness. I hit a lot on relationships. I hit a lot on everything's got to be about earning it.
Earn it. You have
earn
to.
it. Earn it and bring value.
Apart. Yep. And branding yourself. Like we laugh that I'm Brooke the nerd. My daughter says it. It's on my 5-year-old lunchbox, right? She's like, they're like, what does your mom do? She's a nerd. They have no idea what I do, but they know I'm a nerd.
My kids have they still, I mean, I'm a grown adult with grandchildren, and my kids still are like, what does your dad do? I'm not even sure. But my son on a trip with his friends in his mid-20s will call with all of his friends in the truck. They're out to go on a climbing expedition and go, Dad, can you just give us an inspirational speech? I don't know what you do, but I love when you talk about peace and contentment. Could you talk to us about that? And he just wants me to do like a half an hour, 45-minute session with all of his friends in the truck. And that kind of brings in what you said before too. Who you are sometimes, who you are all the time. Or that's the way I rephrased what you had said. These concepts and principles that you teach are just as likely to fall over and spill into your marriage, into how you raise children, as it is into your business.
It's funny. My husband will say, you guys laugh. She is this person. He has posted on Facebook things. This is who she is morning, noon, and night. And then when it stops is when she falls asleep. So who you see is what you get all the time. He's like, she's like this at home. She'll pop up in a costume. Like when I build a class, my first thought after I build it is, what should I wear for a costume? Right? Like,
yeah, our spouses could talk. Mine came actually to one of the family reunions, and we got together with, I don't know, maybe 20 people for coffee or whatever in the morning before the sessions. And it's the first time anybody had ever met Hot Dina. I mean, that's her official name. So I whipped up my hot wife. We're high school sweethearts. And basically someone raised their hand and said, can I ask a question? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. And they're like, yeah, it's not for you. It's for your wife. Fine with me. They said, what's it really like to live with him? And her answer was, exactly what you'd think it's like.
My husband would say the same.
It's exactly what you would think. This is it. All the time, 24 hours a day. What you see is what you get. And that's where we talk about, I want to thank you for coming on, and we're going to wrap this up, but a lot of those little key things, earn the right, the value. I got Relationship Monster still in front of me because I love that. All of those core things, we can be talking about learning. We can talk about teaching. We can talk about building our business. We can talk about being better spouses, better parents, everything. In my opinion, the core concepts and principles that came up over and over repeatedly in this conversation, come on, they're core principles. Apply them anywhere, everywhere, all frickin' day. And I just really, really, really appreciate you. I would love to do some more projects with you or anything, because let me just tell you, your energy is just beautiful, 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 beautiful. But otherwise, I'll be creeping on you. Otherwise, I'm watching all your stuff.
I'm watching you and all your cow pictures go by and your cow stalking.
Oh, you're awesome. So anybody who wants to get a hold of Brooke, you will have noticed in the introduction, I already mentioned that we've got all of that in the description down below. I would highly recommend go to her website, and at a minimum, even just go look at her book recommendations. I love that you post all of that. I'm a bookie. I'm always that sounds weird, but no, I'm into books, and so I'm always sharing those. And I love that you publicly just throw those right on your website. And
my nerd bag's up there too. Like if I have something that makes my life 10 times easier, I put it up there so you guys can have a life that's 10 times easier with a gadget. Because not every gadget works,
Yep.
but they want you to think it's the best thing. So what I have in my nerd bag is my tried and true things that I love that you will never find me without unless someone took it out of my bag, and then I'll cry. But I'll just buy a new one. But yes, so I've got some fun things. Reach out, say hi, follow me on Facebook, ask questions. The things that
Absolutely.
I talk about, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you're in real
Mhm.
estate, whether you're an accountant, whether you, like I said, work at Starbucks. These
Yep.
are all things to make you a better person, no matter where your role lives in life. End of story.
Yep. And as we say all the time at Cultivate Wins, hashtag be better, do better, personally and professionally. So anyways, tons of love to everybody. Thank you, Brooke.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. Everybody, we're going to hang up right now, and then I'm going to say a nice personal goodbye to Brooke, but goodbye to everybody else, and thank you so much.